that point in time, there was an influx of baby groupies. And I mean babies. They were 13 and 14.
Did you know some of the biggest rock stars had secret relationships with their groupies? From scandalous affairs to wild love stories, you won't believe which legendary musicians crossed the line with their biggest fans. Let's dive in. 20. Iggy Pop. Iggy Pop wasn't just a rock legend, his secret romance with an underage groupie will leave you speechless. Iggy Pop was one of baby groupie Sable Starr's many celebrity lovers. There's no ambiguity here. Besides the many pictures of the two of them together, Iggy wrote a song, Look Away, from the 1996 album Naughty Little Doggy about their relationship. I slept with Sable when she was 13. Her parents were too rich to do anything. She walked her way around LA till a New York doll carried her away. Pop is about 10 years Sable's elder. Look Away is a mournful song, a blurry reminiscence through a hazy lens. Pop seems to carry a little shame at how he treated Sable and how when he saw a nasty situation developing between the teenager and the New York doll, he simply ignored it, looked away. 19. Bill Wyman. What happens when a Rolling Stones bassist begins a relationship with a 13-year-old? Bill Wyman's affair sparked major controversy. Rock stars aren't immune to indiscretions even after their prime. Case in point, Bill Wyman began a sexual relationship with a teenage girl in the mid-'80s. Mandy Smith told the Daily Mail that she began hitting the English club scene at a young age, where she eventually ran into Wyman. The two began a relationship when she was 13 and he was in his 30s, and it became sexual when she was 14. They married in 1989 to much fanfare when Smith was 18, but got divorced just 2 years later. In an added wrinkle, Wyman's son from his first wife ended up marrying Smith's mother. When the Daily Mail writer asked Smith whether it's appropriate for a teenage girl to marry a much older man, Smith reacted strongly. It's not about being physically mature, it's emotional maturity that matters, she said. I don't think most 16-year-olds are ready. I think the age of consent should be raised to 18 at a minimum, and some girls aren't even ready then.
She's young enough to be his granddaughter. He'll be drawing his pension when she's only 32.
18. Keith Moon. The Who's wild drummer Keith Moon was known for his crazy antics, but his dark relationship ended tragically. Annette Walter Lax met Keith Moon at a club filled with rock stars and groupies. She'd been invited out by David Bowie's manager and she'd spent the night flirting with Rod Stewart, but it was Keith Moon who took her home. The pair ended up dating, but Moon was a dangerous and often violent drunk, and it wouldn't take long before she found him dead in their bed. It happened in 1978 after they'd attended a party thrown by Paul McCartney where Moon had declared that he was going to marry Annette. When they got home though, Moon once again forgot all those loving feelings. He told Annette to cook him steak for breakfast, and when she complained he yelled, "If you don't like it, you can fuck off." Then he went into his room and slammed back more than 10 times the recommended dose of Heminevrin. Annette was too angry to climb into bed with him, so she didn't find his body until the morning. By then, though, the drummer of The Who was dead.
We'll just take this one here. It's time to work with it. Great. What a guy. Beautiful guy.
17. Johnny Thunders. Johnny Thunders of the New York Dolls was involved in an abusive, drug-fueled relationship that trapped an underage groupie. When Sable Starr was 16, she met the lead guitarist of the New York Dolls, Johnny Thunders. He was 18 at the time. Thunders decided to send her on a plane to New York, but kept touring in California before returning to New York with her. There, however, the relationship turned sour. He was seriously addicted to drugs and became violent, jealous, possessive, and controlling. Sable Starr suddenly realized that she was trapped in an abusive relationship. She became pregnant with his child, but later chose to have an abortion.
Do you remember when you first got in contact with drugs?
Yeah. Tell me about it. How did you start? I started smoking pot. I guess the way the kids do, and got into heavier things. I guess how I think to get out of it once you start.
16. Keith Emerson. Super groupie Cleo Oedzer thought Keith Emerson was the one, but a shocking revelation destroyed their whirlwind romance. Super groupie Cleo Oedzer was 14 years old when she started sneaking into New York's trendiest nightclubs with a fake ID to hook up with rock stars. She went through a lot of them, moving through members of the Rolling Stones to Cream to Deep Purple. Every 2 weeks there was a new band, she said about it, and every 2 weeks I had a new boyfriend. When she started dating Keith Emerson of Emerson, Lake and Palmer, the relationship lasted for the first time in her life. The pair fell in love, and Emerson even proposed. All that fell apart though when Time released an article that called her Super Groupie Cleo. Emerson had no idea Cleo had gone through the whole music scene before meeting him. When he found out, he called the wedding off. 15. David Bowie. David Bowie and his infamous connection to underage groupie Lori Maddox raises eyebrows and continues to be a shocking chapter in his life. David Bowie had strong links to the baby groupies of Los Angeles, and famous groupie Lori Maddox, often spelled Matix, has repeatedly told the story of how she lost her virginity to Bowie when she was just 14. Bowie was in his mid-20s. According to her, Bowie pursued her, but she initially rejected him. Then, months later, she and fellow underage groupie Sable Starr ended up in a hotel room with Bowie, and the rock star took Maddox into a bathroom, got in a bath with her, and then had sex with her. The two would later have a threesome with Starr. It's worth noting that Maddox doesn't have any regrets about her experience with Bowie, noting that she would continue to see him on and off for 10 years after their first sexual encounter. I feel like I was very present, Maddox told Thrillist. I saw the greatest music ever. I got to hang out with some of the most amazing, most beautiful, most charismatic men in the world. I went to concerts in limos with police escorts. Am I going to regret this? No.
Do you mind talking about your sexuality?
Sorry, why?
Because what was the deal there? You were gay for a while, and then you were not gay.
I was just happy.
But were you bisexual? Were you pansexual? Were you trisexual? Because I thought being gay was a bit like the Foreign Legion. Once you joined, I didn't think you were allowed back.
I was just very, I just got me leg over a lot.
Did you have relationships with these people as well, or was it mainly...
Not if I could help it. I was incredibly promiscuous.
I bet you were.
And I think we'll leave it at that.
No, we can't, but this is great stuff, David.
No, it might be for you, son.
But everyone wants to know. You must have had a great time.
Why would I go into that when I can make a fortune by writing a book about it? Why should I give it to you for free?
All right, well let me ask you this then, David. We'll get to the book in it. I've never yet tried...
Don't even think about it.
I've never tried the man love, okay? I haven't tried the man on man, the man in man, the man with man. I haven't tried it. I was tempted recently when David Beckham scored that penalty goal. Suddenly, I felt a stirring. Should I give it a try? Father.
Such a serious and a life-challenging and changing question. The answer that I have for you would probably create such turmoil in your soul.
You know what? It probably
I'm not
would.
sure that you could actually withstand it, or in fact last the rest of the show. So I'm afraid I have to politely and reluctantly not answer that question.
14. Tommy Lee. Tommy Lee had no shortage of scandalous relationships, but his connection with a famous video vixen stands out the most. It seems Tommy Lee did not have trouble scoring dates with models like Elaine Starchuk, who eventually became the musician's wife. Lee and Starchuk married in 1984 and were officially divorced the following year. Following his whirlwind relationship with Elaine Starchuk, Tommy Lee wasted no time moving on to his next love interest. He soon began dating 80s bombshell Tawny Katane. The video vixen, who passed away in May 2021, was known for her roles in music videos for the band Whitesnake, including Here I Go Again and Is This Love. Although Lee never married Katane, they were a prominent couple during the 80s. After they ended things, Katane went on to date and marry David Coverdale of Whitesnake. The pair divorced after 2 years together.
God bless those years, because it's not like that anymore. Like, we would just sit there and we'd be drinking, we'd be getting blowjobs under the table at the Rainbow. It's a fucking dinner place, you know? Like, what is, like, I can't. And because they had these little nooks and crannies, or you could go back in the corner and you'd be having just a raging party, and nobody would ever come by and be like, you guys can't do that here. Are you crazy?
13. Randy California. Spirit's frontman Randy California's secret affair with a high school groupie will change how you view this rock icon forever. When she was still in high school, Morgana Welch caught the band Spirit performing at Hollywood's Whiskey A Go Go. She immediately fell for frontman Randy California, and the two became lovers. Randy California was an American guitarist, singer, and songwriter, and one of the original members of the rock group Spirit, formed in 1967. He then wrote the band's biggest hit, 1968's I Got a Line on You, for Spirit's second album, The Family That Plays Together. He also wrote the single 1984, inspired by George Orwell's novel of the same name. Released in early 1970, the song was so pointed against the US government that it was banned from many radio stations, although it was a huge hit in Germany. In Canada, the song reached number 66. California also wrote Spirit's other hit, Nature's Way, for the band's best-selling album, 12 Dreams of Dr. Sardonicus. Morgana Welch was part of the baby groupie scene that centered around Los Angeles, and in an interview with Please Kill Me, she said that they didn't even know they'd been dubbed the LA Queens until Led Zeppelin released the song Sick Again in 1975. 12. Steven Tyler. Aerosmith's Steven Tyler convinced a girl's parents to give him guardianship, only to take the relationship to disturbing levels. Julia Holcomb had just turned 16 when she met the Aerosmith singer at a concert in Portland, Oregon. She had not lived a happy life before meeting him. Her father abandoned her mother early on, and her younger brother died in a car accident when she was 13. She was in a fragile place when a 24-year-old woman befriended her, dressed her in revealing clothing, and got them backstage at an Aerosmith concert. In 1973, Steven Tyler of the band Aerosmith convinced her mother and stepfather to sign over their daughter's guardianship to him so that she could live with him in Boston. A year or so into the relationship, Tyler decided he wanted a family and convinced Holcomb to conceive a child with him before he tossed her birth control pills over a balcony. When she became pregnant, Tyler asked Holcomb to marry him, but never followed through. Instead, he left her alone and pregnant with few resources while he went on tour. Things soured, however, and Tyler pressured her to get an abortion at 5 months, 1 week before the legal limit. She went through with it, moved home, and except for a few phone calls, never heard from Tyler again. In spite of everything, I do not hate Steven Tyler, nor am I personally bitter, Holcomb writes. I pray for his sincere conversion of heart and hope he can find God's grace. She may not harbor bitterness, but she did file a lawsuit against the singer in December 2022 alleging sexual assault, sexual battery, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. According to Rolling Stone, Holcomb, now known as Julia Misley, the lawsuit was filed following California legislation that temporarily waived statutes of limitations for childhood sexual abuse allegations.
A new lawsuit accuses Aerosmith frontman Steven Tyler of sexual assault of a minor back in the 1970s. In the lawsuit, which does not name Tyler as a defendant, Julia Misley, formerly known as Julia Holcomb, claims sexual assault starting at 16, coercion of an abortion, and involuntary infamy by Tyler. The suit was filed under the California Child Victims Act, allowing victims to take legal action as adults against their abusers. In a statement, the 65-year-old Misley says that she wants this action to expose and hold accountable an industry that protects celebrity offenders.
11. Cat Stevens. Cat Stevens' relationship with model and groupie Patty d'Arbanville inspired one of his biggest hits, but the story didn't end well. There's little question as to the song that was inspired by Patty d'Arbanville. Her name is, after all, right in the song title. Lady d'Arbanville was the single off Yusuf Cat Stevens' Mona Bone Jacone, in which he sang, "My Lady d'Arbanville, why does it drive me so? But your heart seems so silent, why do you breathe so low?" The song seems to have been plucked out of another era, and it's fitting that the video is set in a mansion dripping with mystery. According to the official story, Stevens and d'Arbanville were in a serious relationship that included the time he spent recovering from tuberculosis, and it ended with her return to the US and him sharing the song with her over the phone. "I cried when I heard it," she said, "because that's when I knew it was over for good." D'Arbanville stayed in the groupie scene and became a good friend and trusted companion of groupie mainstay Pamela Des Barres.
My Lady d'Arbanville, why do you sleep so still?
Music is, for us, I think, a release now, a spiritual release. For a lot of people, for kids, it's the beginning.
As it sort of comes to fruition in this song about Jesus on the album.
Well, it's the first time I've said his name, and I don't like to abuse his name. You see, I don't like to abuse the word love, either. It's one of those things that when I typed it once, you know, and I first saw it coming out, I said, you know, this means I have to go through a deep change. I mean, I have to now open up to the fact, not only just to Jesus, but to the conviction of my lifestyle, which is basically, it's religious. I believe in man as maybe a finger of God.
10. Jimmy Page. Led Zeppelin's Jimmy Page didn't just date a groupie, he allegedly kidnapped her, and the relationship was full of control and secrecy. Lori Mattix lost her virginity to David Bowie, but he wasn't the only rock star she would sleep with during her groupie days. In fact, she is better known for her relationship with Led Zeppelin guitarist Jimmy Page. In her words, Page had Zeppelin manager Richard Cole kidnap her. Cole is also known as the man responsible for the infamous Zeppelin Mud Shark incident. Mattix was just 14 when the relationship started. Page was 28. "What happened is that I was kidnapped. Literally," Mattix said once in a documentary. "He told me he was going to be with me, and I said no, he wasn't. And he said, yes, I am. Then we all ended up at the Rainbow Bar and Grill, and Richard Cole says to me, 'Get in the bloody car, and if you move, I'll have your head.' Next thing you know, I'm at the Hyatt House Hotel, and I'm walking down the hall. And next thing you know, I'm pulled into this door. And I turned around and look, there was Jimmy sitting in the corner of the room with a hat and a cane saying, 'I told you I'm gonna have you.'" Apparently, Page's flair for dramatics didn't end on the guitar. He and Mattix would continue to see each other for the next few years, though he tightly controlled Mattix's movements when they were together. "He always left me with his security locked in the room. I wasn't really allowed to go to very many places with him," she claimed. Nevertheless, Mattix doesn't seem to see herself as a victim. Quite the contrary. She speaks graciously of her time with rock stars and fondly recalls their time together. It was worth every minute, truly, she says. He was a beautiful person and he touched my life deeply.
At that point in time, there was an influx of baby groupies. And I mean babies, they were 13 and 14. So Jimmy got involved with a young girl named Lori.
At that particular time, I was a teen model, and so that's how I met Jimmy, actually, because he'd seen my photograph and wanted to meet me. So next thing you know, we were taking a drive down to the Hyatt House to go meet the band, and I was terrified because I was a baby. I mean, come on, and this was Led Zeppelin.
She was 14 or not quite 14.
9. Mick Jagger. The Rolling Stones frontman Mick Jagger had a kinky secret life with groupies that involved wild parties and controversial relationships. Lori Maddox relates a story about having BDSM-flavored sex with Jagger when she was 17. I remember being 17 and hanging out at the record plant in LA. I was friends with the owner and everybody recorded there. I saw 3 of the Beatles with Mick Jagger and Stevie Wonder having this great jam session. But then, Mick started fighting with McCartney or Lennon over who would sing on a particular song. Mick got pissed off. He took me to one of the bondage-themed bedrooms that the studio had. Mick said, "Let's go fuck and get high." We did blow all night and talked and hung out until the morning. We tried to have sex all night, but at a certain point, he couldn't get hard anymore. We were both very high. Another time, Mick had me on a bathroom floor while Bianca was getting ready for surgery. The sex was very consensual.
They're thinking about being a sex symbol, but it's I guess it's got its,
Well, it's been part of your
perquisites.
shtick. It's been part of your bread and butter.
I guess, I enjoy it. I think if you go on stage and you're in front of 50,000 people and they're all kind of enthusiastic, you don't really need any more.
8. Elvis Presley. The king of rock and roll, Elvis Presley, wasn't just stealing hearts on stage. His disturbing groupie affairs remained hidden for years. In addition to nabbing the title the king of rock and roll with songs like Can't Help Falling in Love and He Touched Me, Elvis Presley stole many hearts. Elvis lived life on the road, including his time spent with teenagers. Williamson writes that while on tour, Elvis preyed on a group of 3 14-year-old girls who would pillow fight, tickle, wrestle, and kiss Elvis, who was 22 at the time. Williamson also details an incident in which Elvis slept with a fan while he was in Louisiana, performing weekly on the Louisiana Hayride Show in 1954. The condom broke during the act. Not knowing what to do, Elvis asked his friends on tour how he should proceed, but they had no helpful advice. In the morning, Elvis informed his friends that he brought the girl to the emergency room and left her there to get a douche. Seven. Axl Rose. Guns N' Roses frontman Axl Rose didn't just make music history, his scandalous groupie encounter even ended up in one of his songs. Rocket Queen, the 1987 track by Guns N' Roses, is one of the most notorious songs ever released. The final track from their lauded debut, Appetite for Destruction, is possibly the one track that perfectly encapsulates the band as a whole. The music is classic Guns N' Roses, with Slash at one of his busiest points. But aside from that, it is the sounds panning in and out during the bridge that set it apart. Of course, it sounds like a couple having sex because, well, it is a couple having sex. For a band known for their unscrupulous sexual hijinks, it's not surprising, even if it does send a chill down your spine. Allegedly, the sounds you hear are frontman Axl Rose having an intimate moment with a woman, Adriana Smith. Of the song, Rose said in 1988, "For that song, there was also something I tried to work out with various people, a recorded sex act. It was somewhat spontaneous but premeditated, something I wanted to put on the record." Rose got his wishes, but there would be a betrayal at the center of the story. The woman in question, Adriana Smith, was the band's groupie and stripper at the time, but had also been romantically involved with drummer Steven Adler for the past year. At this point, if the thought of a band groupie and stripper is not enough to make you feel sick, all hope is lost. 6. Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne's private photo scandal with a groupie sent shockwaves across the internet, revealing a side of him many didn't know. Throughout Lil Wayne's long and successful career, fans have seen him in various fashion styles, whether it was the baggy look of the early 2000s or the more fitted look that came years later. But in July 2012, Weezy appeared to be seen in just his boxer shorts and eyeglasses after a woman named Sarah Lynn Rivera was accused of taking a photo of him while he was sleeping. Many also assume the pic was taken following an alleged romantic episode between the two, and the photo instantly went viral. However, model dancer Rivera claimed it wasn't her who put it online. "Woke up to craziness," she wrote in a series of tweets via Vlad TV. "I'll say this, it wasn't a groupie situation at all. It's between me and Wayne actually, but I would never send anything to blogs. Whoever did is lame. LOL." For his part, Wayne didn't respond to the chatter surrounding the photo, but he later made headlines for being with other women like singer Christina Milian before they split in 2015 via ET. In regards to Rivera, it's not clear whether she and Lil Wayne continued their alleged relationship after that photo went viral, but she later promoted the video to his 2020 song 2 Diamonds in her Instagram bio.
Man, Twist, what you laughing at, man? How you get that? You get that? You understood that? You sucking on clits over that butt? They came on that motherfucker. That nigga. Oh, you a Twist? 15. Huh?
Oh my God.
You better? I'm on the real. Cause I'm I was fucking at 11. I had Nate at 15, nigga. I had my daughter when I was 15, nigga. It ain't cause you a male, it ain't cause you 15, you supposed to, cause you're young money. You're supposed to. Fuck that shit, nigga. I started fucking. I got raped when I was 11, Twist. I loved it. I ain't never pressed charges.
5. Jimi Hendrix. Jimi Hendrix's infamous relationship with groupie Devin Wilson was as wild as it was tragic, leaving a lasting mark on his legacy. If there's any rock star who lived a life that reads like a fictionalized version of a rock star, it's Jimi Hendrix. It's fitting then that the inspiration behind his famous Dolly dagger is just as incredible. And yes, she was a very real person named Devin Wilson. Hendrix sang, "Dolly dagger, she drinks her blood from a jagged edge. Drink up, baby. Been riding broomsticks since she was 15. Blow out all the other witches on the scene." Harsh words for a significant other? Perhaps, but at least part of those lyrics were literal. Wilson, the story goes, hooked up with Hendrix as not only his primary girl, but as the one rounding up everything the band needed. That, of course, meant drugs and other girls. As some of the girls she brought back were shared with Hendrix and she got tired of sharing, she decided that what worked for him also worked for her. Hendrix's 27th birthday was celebrated at a Stones concert, and when she hosted the after party, things can kind of best be summed up by accounts of Mick Jagger cutting his finger and Wilson licking up the blood. Jagged edge, see? Wilson, however, didn't have a happy ending to her story. In 1971, she was killed when she fell out of a window at the Chelsea Hotel.
So, Jimmy, why did you play guitar with your teeth?
Well, actually, I really don't play with my teeth. I play with my ears. My ears there.
Hey, Jimmy, what do you think of American cops?
American cops? Oh, man, it's really great, man. They got some groovy uniforms, stripes down their pants, clubs in their pockets. Wow. About to say, guns.
Tell me, Jimmy, do you smoke?
No.
Hey, Jimmy, why'd you wear your hair like that?
Yeah, well, these hair strands here, each one stands for a vibration, and they're all supposed to be good. But, oh, there goes a strand there.
Did you put a spell on those two white boys?
Well, I think they put a spell on me. You know, we're all brothers and sisters, aren't we?
Jimmy, how much do you rely on gimmicks?
Gimmicks, here we go again. Gimmicks, man. I'm tired of people saying we rely on gimmicks. What is this? The world is nothing but a big gimmick, isn't it? Wars, napalm bombs, and all that. People get burned up on TV, and it's nothing but a big gimmick. Yes, we do.
4. Brian Jones. The Rolling Stones' Brian Jones didn't just embrace the rock star lifestyle, his witchy groupie lover brought him to the edge. Anita Pallenberg was 21 when she first met the Rolling Stones backstage in a concert. She'd won them over by handing out poppers to the band and made her biggest impression on Brian Jones. Brian Jones was already struggling with an immense feeling that his bandmates hated him, and in a combination of drugs and emotional vulnerability, he saw Pallenberg as an angel. He told her, "I don't know who you are, but I need you." Then he brought her back to his apartment where, instead of sleeping together, he sobbed while she held him. Jones and Anita Pallenberg started dating, and she changed the whole band. She was a self-proclaimed witch with an obsession for black magic who would carry around garlic in case of vampire attacks. And the band bought into it. She got them to embrace the evil persona and inspired songs like Sympathy for the Devil. She even sang backup on the song. She also got Jones into LSD, which sent him off the deep end. He started losing his mind, and while he was in the hospital, Pallenberg cheated on him with his bandmate Keith Richards. She left Jones for Richards, and Jones spiraled into depression. Pallenberg married Richards and had his children, while Jones got kicked out of the band and drowned in a swimming pool.
In the mid-60s, and you think of Brian Jones. You don't think of Mick Jagger. You certainly don't think of Keith Richards. Brian Jones is like, he's the perfect British rock star. He's the first English rock star with the most, perhaps the best look that ever been of any British rock star.
He was a major player in the 1960s, fashion-wise, attitude-wise.
He was the one who was the friend of John Lennon, the friend of Jimi Hendrix.
Although they were 5 individuals, you sort of knew that he was the governor.
His reputation wasn't very good. He wasn't interested in settling down to doing any work, just wanted to party, party, party and make love to as many girls as he possibly could. A naughty boy, he really was.
He had an incredible insight into people, an almost devilish inside.
3. Gene Simmons. Kiss's Gene Simmons claimed to have slept with thousands of women, but one shocking ritual turned his wildest escapades upside down. The rocker, who is most famed for fronting the hugely successful rock band Kiss, revealed the huge number of trysts he's enjoyed in the sack with groupies during his rock and roll days. He said, "I didn't do drugs in the crazy times, but I did do sex. Did I sleep with 4,800 women? So they tell me. I did have the Polaroids to prove it, oh yes." He added, "Most of them were burned. Shannon and I got together with them and we had a ritual. We wanted to form a band sort of like the Beatles on steroids," Kiss singer and bassist Gene Simmons said earlier this year of the early 70s genesis of the group. Part of the rock star lifestyle they achieved meant gaining a legion of female fans, many of whom had sexual relationships with the band members. And Kiss were hardly apologetic about their participation in groupie culture. Nowadays, the singer and actor is a changed man and says it all turned around for him when he and Shannon, 59, had their children, Sophie, 23, and Nick, 27. 2. Robert Plant. Audrey Hamilton, a free spirit whose journey as a groupie unfolded in the vibrant 70s, found herself entangled in the world of rock and roll when she crossed paths with a Led Zeppelin roadie. Invited to a hotel rendezvous, Audrey's life took an unexpected turn as she encountered the charismatic frontman of Led Zeppelin, Robert Plant. The connection between Audrey Hamilton and Robert Plant ignited instantly. Despite Plant being married to Maureen Wilson, Audrey became a significant presence in his life, especially during Led Zeppelin's 1977 tour. In the whirlwind of the rock and roll lifestyle, Audrey assumed the role of Plant's tour wife, a companion during the band's extensive journeys. Legend has it that the song Hot Dog by Led Zeppelin was a musical testament to their love story. Plant and Hamilton's journey took a heartbreaking turn when Plant's 5-year-old son Carrick succumbed to a stomach virus. The weight of this tragedy led to the unraveling of the relationship. Despite the end of the romantic entanglement, Audrey continued her life on the rock and roll scene, forming connections with other famous musicians.
They toured a lot in the early days. They found it, titillating and it amused them that these girls would do anything. So they would like push it as far as see what these girls would actually do.
It was an extremely volatile, intense, traveling rock and roll circus, that was the epitome of kind of 70s rock and roll success and glamour and excess, and that's just what Led Zeppelin were.
Outrageous stories followed the band like, a pack of sharks. That dangerous creature appropriately appears in the most notorious groupie story of all, the Led Zeppelin shark incident.
That was the wildest thing I've ever been involved in or saw in my life. It was pretty wild.
I don't know whether it really happened. I mean, I don't recall that incident.
I don't even know if you can tell all the details on VH1.
I remember hearing about it from a Frank Zappa song, which went something like, Mood Shark.
It was 1969 at Seattle's Edgewater Hotel, a favorite stopover for rock bands playing in the area.
I found this woman who was very eager to do whatever, And in this hotel, you can go buy fishing poles, and you could fish out the windows. It's right on the water.
Basically, what I remember is that Bonzo and I were fishing out the window of the hotel. We heard noise from another room, and of course we didn't want to miss out on anything. And we went over there, and there was some girl lying on the floor.
So when they come in, they had this mud shark in their hand.
It was either the shark or the snapper.
And they had this chick. And the chick was like up for anything, So before we knew anything, the chick was sitting on the chair, and they were like, I don't know who it was, I can't remember. They were like hitting her on the back with the mud shark.
Hey lady, you got the love I need.
This chick had everything done to her with the fish, with ketchup, with bottles, with butter, with everything that I've ever seen done in my life.
I mean, it definitely happened. There was a shark and there was a girl.
She liked it. I was like, I was just shocked. I think I was in shock for the whole thing, really.
The Zeppelin band members always played coy about the incident.
So you want to know whether I ever did any of these weird and wonderful things? Well, I might have done.
1. Sid Vicious. In February 1977, Sid Vicious got his big chance when nominated to replace Glenn Matlock as the bassist of the Sex Pistols, then known for their 1976 hit Anarchy in the UK, even though he didn't know a thing about playing the bass. Shortly afterward, Nancy Spungen arrived in London. A groupie from the New York punk scene, she soon made a move on Sex Pistols frontman Johnny Rotten, and finding an unreceptive audience, turned her attention to Vicious. It was love at first discordant sight. In Vicious, she found a naturally shy soul, one enduring of her hard edges as well as the irresistible pull of a star on the rise. And in Spungen, he found someone experienced and nurturing in grown-up matters of sex and drugs, while also proving needy for his own brand of affection. One onlooker later captured the unique nature of their bond. describing how Spungen once instructed Vicious to push a fawning groupie down the stairs at a club. And he did without a second thought, recalled the witness. He was a knight in rusty armor. Vicious and Spungen became inseparable. The couple moved into a flat in the quiet West London neighborhood of Maida Vale, where they sunk further into heavy drug use and fended off intrusions from the police. Their high-wire lifestyle came to an inevitable crash on the night of October 11th. Hosting a party in their tiny room, Vicious swallowed about 30 tablets of Tuinol, a potent barbiturate mix, and was comatose for most of the night as guests came and went. At around 11 a.m. the following morning, as the front desk began receiving calls of distress about the situation in room 100, a bellman discovered an underwear-clad Spungen on the floor, bleeding profusely from a knife wound to her abdomen. A dazed Vicious was found wandering in the hallway, reportedly wailing about how he killed her. He repeated that admission to the police before recanting, insisting that he didn't remember anything about the night. Freed on bail, Vicious was powerless to withstand the overwhelming loss in his life and attempted suicide a few days later. After spending 2 months in the Rikers Island prison complex, he celebrated his release in February 1979 by sending his mother to score some heroin. On the morning of February 2nd, the punk icon was discovered dead from an overdose.
The whole thing lasted no more than 3 minutes, and out they went. Vicious made no attempt to duck the cameras waiting outside the courtroom, but he refused to respond to any of the reporters' questions and shoved persistent microphones out of his path.
The grand jury will decide whether or not to indict Vicious for murder. If he is indicted, the case moves to the Supreme Court for further action. Vicious was ordered to Rikers Island. If convicted of the stabbing death of Miss Spungen, Vicious faces 15 years to life in prison.
Are you having fun at the moment? Are you kidding? Oh, I'm not having fun at all. Where would you like to be? Under the ground. Are you serious? Oh, yeah.
Thanks for watching. If you loved uncovering these rockstar secrets, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more juicy stories. And hey, check out our other videos. You won't want to miss the next shocking celebrity tale.